Hello, everyone, and welcome to a new episode of our podcast to learn English. I'm Clara, and I'm very happy to be here with you. Today, we have a very useful and very practical topic: how to speak English in stores and in markets. I'm sure this episode will help you a lot because we all need to buy things when we travel or when we live in a country where English is spoken.
Hello, everyone. I'm James, and I'm very happy to be here with you. As Clara said, today we are going to talk about phrases and expressions that you can use in stores, supermarkets, and local markets. Sometimes, when we are in a foreign country, we need clothes, food, or souvenirs, and we don't always know how to ask for things. That's why, in this episode, we are going to practice clear, simple, and very useful English.
Exactly, James. But before we start, we want to remind you of something very important. If you like this podcast, please don't forget to give the video a like and subscribe to our channel. That helps us a lot to keep creating content for you. You can also write in the comments telling us which country you are listening from. We love reading your comments and knowing where you are from.
Yes, really. Thanks to everyone who supports us. Well, now let's get started. The first thing we need to know when we enter a store or a market is the greeting in English-speaking countries. Greeting people is very important. For example, when you enter a store, you usually say good morning if it's in the morning, good afternoon, or good evening if it's at night.
And if you don't know exactly what time it is, that's okay. You can simply say hello, and it will always be correct. Shopkeepers usually respond with a greeting too. Sometimes they say welcome. It's a very common way to show hospitality. So, the first step when speaking in a store is always to greet.
Very good. After the greeting, we usually want to look at the things in the store or market. A very useful phrase is, how much does this cost? It's a short phrase, easy to remember. If you want to be a little more specific, you can say, how much does this shirt cost? How much does this bread cost?
Yes, that is probably the most important phrase. And if you are in a traditional market, sometimes the price isn't written down. That's why asking is essential. Now, James, what if we want to see more products? For example, imagine you are in a clothing store and you want to see the same item in another size or in another color. What can you say?
In that case, you can say, do you have this shirt in another size? Do you have these pants in black? It's a very simple structure. Have plus the object plus in plus the characteristic. And if you don't know how to say the characteristic, you can simply point and say, do you have this in another? It's a basic way, but shopkeepers usually understand.
Excellent advice, and something I want to explain to our listeners. In English, politeness is very important. When we speak with a shopkeeper or someone we don't know well, we usually use a more polite tone. For example, instead of saying, "Do you have this shirt in blue?" in a very casual way, we can say, "Do you have this shirt in blue, sir?" Or, "Do you have this shirt in blue, ma'am?" It's not always required, but it shows respect and it sounds more polite.
Yes. And especially in English-speaking countries, using the formal usted is very common in stores. In America, it's used a little less, but it's still a correct and polite form. So, if you're not sure, it's better to be polite. It's always safer to sound polite. Now, let's imagine we are in a supermarket. There, we usually don't talk much with the shopkeepers, but we might need some help. A very useful phrase is, "Excuse me, where is," for example, "Excuse me, where is the bread?" Or, "Excuse me, where is the milk?" It's very practical for finding products. Yes, and we can also use the words "is there" or "do you have," for example, "is there any bread left?" or "do you have apples?" Both forms are very common, and if the product is finished, the shopkeeper can say, "There isn't any left," or "there isn't any." It's a short response, but direct.
I want to give you a little dialogue to practice. Let's imagine you enter a fruit store. Customer: "Good morning." Shopkeeper: "Good morning, welcome." Customer: "How much are the apples?" Shopkeeper: "The apples are $2 per kilo." Customer: "Perfect. Can I have 1 kilo, please?" Shopkeeper: "Of course. Here you go." That's a very simple dialogue, but very realistic. If you learn these phrases, you will be able to shop without problems.
I really like that example, Clara, and notice that the customer says, "Can I have 1 kilo, please?" This expression is very commonly used. We can also say, "Can you give me," or "I would like," for example, "I would like 1/2 kilo of tomatoes, please." It's a more formal and polite way to ask.
Yes, and it's very useful when we want to sound polite. I also want to mention another expression. I'll take, for example, "I'll take this shirt," or "I'll take 3 loaves of bread." It's another common way to say that we are going to buy something.
Exactly, and sometimes when we are looking at products, the shopkeeper may offer help. He might say, "Can I help you with something?" Or, "Are you looking for something in particular?" In that case, we can answer, "I'm just looking, thank you." Or, "Yes, I'm looking for a gift for a friend."
Very good. I think it's also important to practice quantities. For example, in a fruit or vegetable market, we often use measurements like 1 kilo, 1/2 kilo, 1/4 of a kilo. We can also ask by units. "I want 3 oranges," or "I want 6 eggs." Yes. And with clothing, we use sizes: small, medium, large. In numbers, for example, size 38, 40, 42. And with shoes, we say size 37, 38, 39, etc. So, a useful phrase would be, "Do you have these shoes in size 39?" This kind of phrase is very helpful.
Now, I want to ask something to our listeners. When you go shopping, what phrase do you use the most in your language? Write it in the comments using what you learned today. That will be a good exercise for everyone.
Very good idea. And remember, friends, learning English isn't just about memorizing words. It's also about practicing in real contexts. Stores and markets are perfect places to practice because the phrases are short, direct, and repetitive.
Exactly. And don't worry if at first you speak slowly or if you make mistakes. Shopkeepers are usually patient and understand that you are learning. The important thing is to try. Every time you speak, you will gain more confidence.
Very true, James. And one more thing. In local markets, many times we can bargain, that is, negotiate the price. Not everywhere, but in traditional markets or with street vendors. In that case, a useful phrase is, "Can you give me a discount?" or "Can you make it cheaper for me?"
Yes, that part is very interesting. Although in supermarkets or big stores, you usually cannot negotiate. In street markets, many times you can. And even if the discount is small, it's part of the cultural experience.
So far, we have learned how to greet, ask for prices, ask for sizes or colors, ask for quantities, and even ask for a discount. We already have a good vocabulary to get started. Yes, but we still need more phrases for different situations. For example, what happens when we want to pay? What phrases do we use? James, do you want to start with that?
Of course, Clara, with pleasure. When we finish choosing what we want to buy, it's time to pay. In English, there are several phrases we can use. A very common one is, "Where do I pay?" or "Where is the checkout?" In many big stores, you have to take your things to the checkout to pay.
Exactly. And when we get to the checkout, the cashier usually greets us again and asks, "Will you pay with cash or card?" Here we have two very important words: cash, which means money in bills or coins, and card, which means a credit or debit card. So, if you want to pay with bills or coins, you say, "Cash, please." And if you want to pay with your credit or debit card, you say, "Card, please."
Yes, and it's also common for them to ask debit or credit. In that case, you simply answer whichever applies. And if you're in a country where they use different currencies like euros or pesos, or in my country, England, where we use pounds, it can also be useful to ask, "Do you accept dollars?" or "Do you accept international cards?" It really depends on the place, but it's good to know how to say these things.
Very good point. Also, when we pay with cash, sometimes we need change. A useful phrase is, "Can you give me change, please?" For example, if you have a large bill and the product is cheap, you need the shopkeeper to give you coins or smaller bills. In English, we say change.
Yes. And there's another interesting situation. When we are in a clothing or shoe store, sometimes we want to try things on before buying. In that case, we can ask, "Can I try on this shirt?" or "Can I try on these shoes?" The place where we try on clothes is called a fitting room.
Exactly. And usually the shopkeeper responds, "Yes, go ahead. The fitting rooms are at the back or on the right." So, if you are shopping in a mall, don't forget this phrase. Where are the fitting rooms? It will help you a lot.
And after trying on the clothes, we can express whether we like them or not. For example, we can say, "It fits me well," or "It's too big," or "It's too small." These phrases are very practical. We can also say, "I like how it fits me," or "I'm not convinced." This way, the shopkeeper knows if you're going to buy it or not.
Very well explained, James. And I want to add that the expression literally means, "It fits me." So, you can use it with clothes, shoes, and even accessories. For example, "The hat is too big for me," or "These pants are too short for me."
Yes, and something interesting. In some countries, shopkeepers may give their opinion. They might say, "It looks very good on you," or "That colour suits you." It's part of the social interaction in stores. Sometimes, even if they just want to sell something, it sounds friendly and polite.
Now, let's imagine a dialogue in a shoe store. Customer: Good afternoon, shopkeeper. Good afternoon. How can I help you? Customer: I'm looking for some black shoes. Shopkeeper: Of course. What size do you wear? Customer: Size 39, please. Shopkeeper: Here you go. Would you like to try them on? Customer: Yes, thank you. The customer tries them on. Customer: They are a little big. Do you have a smaller size? Shopkeeper: Yes. Here is size 38. Customer: Perfect, I'll take them. This dialogue is a realistic example that everyone can practice.
Very good example. And notice we use several useful phrases there. I'm looking for how can I help you? What size do you wear? All are expressions that listeners can memorize and use immediately on their trips. Yes, and it's important to practice out loud. Friends, we invite you to repeat these phrases with us. You can pause the video and repeat. How much is this? Where is the checkout? Can I try on this shirt? It fits me well. Practicing out loud helps a lot to gain confidence.
Totally agree. And remember, friends, if you like this podcast, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. That motivates us to keep creating more content for you. Also, in the comments, you can write which phrases you found most useful from this first part of the conversation about shopping. And that's it for today's episode. We hope you enjoyed learning these useful phrases for shopping. Don't forget, we'll continue talking about this topic in the next podcast. You won't want to miss it. We'll cover new and important tips to help you speak English more confidently in stores and markets. See you next time and keep practicing.